In a world where everything is just a click away, why do we crave these old, dusty things? Perhaps you remember the joy of going to the mailbox when you were younger and finding that catalog. Depending on your era, maybe it was a Tannen's, Abbott's, or even a Magic Smith catalog. These were our Amazon, our Google, our YouTube all in one. This was in the era before excessive information and instant gratification. And while we've seen a lot of progress in the digital world and all that it offers to magicians, at the same time, magic being done mostly with your hands is still one of the ultimate analog acts. And maybe that's why analog just feels so right for magicians. In this episode of Erudite Magic, we are going to talk about one specific set of books that encapsulates this idea of an analog source in an increasingly digital world. But I want to do that against the backdrop of the way magic has changed and perhaps how we can get the best of both worlds. Analog objects like catalogs, posters, or even instruction sheets are essentially snapshots of magic's evolution. For example, a 1920s Thayer catalog isn't just a shopping list. It's a window into what magicians dreamed of performing. A 1970s Supreme Magic catalog shows the rise of packet tricks and close-up. These artifacts capture the zeitgeist of their era, unlike digital content that's constantly overwritten or lost in algorithms. In fact, when we look back at these old sources, like a Tannen's catalog, for example, there was an art to describing a magic trick through the printed word. And yes, while they were intended to sell you on buying magic, they were curated for magicians and not just formulas for profit. Who could forget buying one of their first magic tricks to get the little printed, photocopied a million times instruction sheet, often with very cryptic diagrams that forced you to really spend some time just to figure out how the trick even worked. When I think back to my own youth, I remember getting the Magic Smith catalog in the mail after one of my first purchases, and I absolutely pored over every page of that magazine, often to the point where I had descriptions memorized. I know you know the feeling. As I pondered these descriptions and coveted the items available, I would also start to think about how I might achieve this, or how this effect could possibly be achieved. If that were me today, I'd probably just Google or YouTube the effect in question to try to quickly understand how it worked. So no matter what you're nostalgic for, these snapshots remind us that magic is more than just information and tricks. It's a culture, community, one that's preserved in paper and ink. Now, I don't want to poo-poo digital resources. They're absolutely amazing, but they can also be slightly overwhelming. In today's information era, you can search for a card trick and get 10,000 different results, with maybe half of them being clickbait. And even the things that you've already purchased, good luck finding that PDF that you bought 5 years ago. Digital content often lacks permanence. Yes, I understand that once something's on the internet, it's preserved forever. However, we've all worried about a website going offline with the instructions to a trick that we purchased, files getting corrupted, or simply having so much information out there that you just can't find what you're looking for. On the flip side, a single page from a catalog can often inspire an entire act, because someone took the time to choose what mattered. Magic thrives on clarity, details, and attention, and analog gives us that focus in ways that digital often can't. But who am I kidding? If I'm honest, there are some problems with analog sources, not the least of which is that it can be quite difficult to find what you're looking for in an analog world as well. We've gone through different eras in the world. There used to be a card catalog at the library. What if there was a single source that purported to capture the entire history of magic in the written word? A snapshot not of 1 year, but of centuries. I was recently made aware of such a source from the Miracle Factory and Todd Karr. The books, Todd Karr's Bibliography of Magic Volumes 1 through 4. These are over 1,750 pages, providing details for more than 23,000 magic books from 1584 through today. Yes, it's a list of books, but it's also a love letter written to magic's literary soul. So what are these books? They are what they sound like, a bibliography, presented in alphabetical order by author's last name, generally. Each page is a series of entries with the author's name, the name of the publication, what year it was printed, what company printed it, where it was printed, how it's bound, what color of paper is it printed on, what's the general subject matter, how many pages is it, and what are the dimensions. Now, you might think that this would just be books, but that's not quite correct. This covers everything from rare 16th century pamphlets all the way to modern self-published books. And it covers all of the the different editions of the books that were put out. Basically, this is years and years of Todd Karr's research and passion. Every entry is a way of Todd Karr saying this book matters. There are two different versions of this set of books. One is the deluxe leather-bound edition, which has 3 volumes with almost 600 pages each. The standard edition, which is the one that Todd provided to me, is hardbound and available through Amazon.com. Because of the self-printing restrictions, each one of those is limited to approximately 450 pages each, so there is a slight difference in the 2 volumes. The deluxe editions, being printed later, also have some corrections and additions that didn't make it into the regular print version. However, there is a PDF update available on the website for those corrections and additions that have been discovered. As some have pointed out, there are books that are missing from here. This does not include every worldwide source of magic, but it does include a lot of it. Holding these books is a little bit like walking into a magical archive, where every book has some kind of story behind it. Todd contacted me and asked if he could send these to me for me to look over and consider discussing with you. Since I don't currently have one of the comprehensive bibliographies out there, I thought this would be very interesting to look into for a couple of reasons. Now, I am not the biggest collector in the world, although I have talked to some, and I think that that's where a book like this would become very interesting. If you're a collector or you're just someone who's curious about magic books and wants to know a lot about it, this is a tremendous resource. Why? Because a resource like this can help you track down books that you want for your collection. Interested in every book that Houdini ever wrote? You can find details of every book he ever wrote in Volume 2. Trying to determine if you have every book that John Bannon wrote? Volume 1 is your answer. Speaking of collecting older books, Don's Magic and Books is your ultimate one-stop shop for all types of magic books, whether it's old and rare books, new and trendy ones, close-up, stage, kids magic, gospel shows. Whatever you're looking for, Don is sure to have something that will pique your interest. Because he specializes in gently used magic books, he's constantly getting in new inventory, so there's always a reason to go check out his website to find that one thing that you've been looking for quite some time. And while the inventory changes, the one thing you can be sure won't change is Don's reasonable and fair pricing on everything that he has on the site. Once you start shopping with him, you're going to become a lifelong fan like so many other erudite magicians, knowing that you're not only getting the books you want at great prices, but you're also supporting a businessman who cares as much about magic books as you and I do. So no matter what you're looking for, shop with Don's Magic and Books this week. We've discussed some of the benefits of a bibliography of magic in this time capsule of different books, but let's talk about some of the drawbacks of a resource like this. The first thing that comes to mind is that even if Todd was infallible and at the time of printing had included every detail correctly about every magic book ever printed, not true, these books would immediately be obsolete in some way the minute the next magic book was printed, which was probably about 5 minutes after these went to press. And if I'm being fair, a digital source like The Conjuring Archive by Dennis Baer would be able to update and immediately get that new book in whenever there's time to upload the details. Not only that, I mentioned if he was infallible that he's not, there are mistakes in this book. Clearly, it's done by a human for humans after all. But in some ways, that's actually the charm of an analog source. When we listen to a vinyl record, does it sound better than a digital copy? Well, to a lot of people, yes. Will it get scratched? Can it have dust and static? Again, yes. So when I talk about these books, I totally get that they're not going to be for every magician. Most magicians are just going to like to collect magic tricks and move on with their life. And this book won't even help you cross-reference different tricks to see if there are other sources that you might want to look at. It's limited in its application because of the style that it is, a bibliography, not a gigantic index of all magic tricks. But if you're a collector, either because you want to collect other books and you want this book to help you with that, or you just like to collect books that are about magic, this could be a fun way to look and see all the different types of magic books, all the different versions, editions, who wrote what, and give you some ideas for where your next book purchase might come from, or just things that you want to track down for the sake of history. You could say that it's a catalog of dreams, where every entry has the ability to spark your curiosity about a forgotten master or a lost book that you've never heard of. At the end of the day, digital and analog magic sources aren't really enemies. They're not competition. Actually, they complement each other. Digital gives us speed and access, while analog gives us depth and soul. Whether digital or analog, I doubt whether there will ever be a 100% comprehensive source of every magic thing ever published. But this set of bibliographies does make a pretty strong attempt at that, and is one of the few that I've seen that's been done recently. So if you're a collector, a bibliophile, or just a magic lover, these may help you explore the analog side of magic in a more deep and meaningful way. Todd Karr's bibliography isn't just for dusty old libraries. It's for anyone who wants to understand magic's history in order to create its future. So next time you're at a magic convention or shopping online, check out an older catalog or a book. Or if you're ready to dive deep, pick up a copy of Todd Karr's Bibliography of Magic and start exploring. Analog treasures remind us why we fell in love with magic in the first place. It's not just the tricks, but the stories, the secrets, the history. If you've made it this far into the video, you should 1, consider subscribing, but 2, you should post a comment down below with what your favorite old catalog was, or what sort of analog source got you into magic. As always, my friend, I appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.